year that I've not had a job. And thank you. And there's been some highs and some lows, so I'm not going to sell you the what a lot of entrepreneurs get up here and do is they sell you everything that went well. I'm not going to act like I'm in a black church and give you a testimony how I got both my arms cut off, but I was still waving. I'm going to give it to you like it is. And I will say this, part of the change in me is I have recently renounced capitalism. That sounds crazy for entrepreneurs. There's going to be some real stuff in here you probably never heard. I'm practicing this on you. I've been laying up late at night figuring this thing out because what happened was is I studied the masters when it came to entrepreneurship. I was taught that the people who put this country together, Rockefeller, Ford, Carnegie, what's the other dude? StandUP, that's Rockefeller. One more.
Morgan.
Huh?
Morgan.
That's a whole other, but I'm talking about the four titans. Huh? Morgan. Okay. Well, and then I used to study this book called Think and Grow Rich. One of my favorite books to study. And then one day I woke up and realized that these titans hate people, specifically black people. You know what I'm saying? And so what I've been learning how to do is to hurt my people and make my money. Like Manuel says, I got mine, and everybody else, you don't get yours. Now, some of the stuff might hit real close to me, so just deal with it. But I've renounced capitalism, and that's why I'm here. I have a wife and 3 children, and my children are grown. My 2 daughters are off, finished school, and my son is at the University of Philadelphia, Arts Philadelphia, pre-high school. He's a musician. He's a high-level musician, so he's up there studying. He's going to 12th grade. And so a lot of things you'll hear me talk about formal education, you'll think I'm against formal education. You'll think I'm against college. But just know that all my kids have degrees, okay? So it's going to be a little confusing. And the reason I'm against college is because we take our best and we put them into a system of white supremacy and train them and get them fully immersed in white supremacy, and then they come out, right? And then what do? They leave East Austin. You know what I'm saying? And then they become acceptable to white folks. The reason I'm wearing a full beard right now and a t-shirt, because I don't have to be acceptable to nobody, so I can say anything I want to. That's why entrepreneurship is so important. Because I'm not acceptable. I didn't go to college and I didn't grow up in the South, so I didn't get fully immersed in white folks who are better than me. And so what we keep on doing is teaching our kids that you have to strive to that standard, which is the standard that was started by the NAACP, which was like 3/5 white people started the NAACP. And so what was the litmus test? Be acceptable to white folks. So how many of us have been in a situation where we had to talk different around white folks? You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the police, I'm talking about our coworkers. Right. But then we get there, we code switch automatically. I don't have no switch. You know what I'm saying? My switches, I'm Troy and black all the time, and I apologize, but that's why I left Austin. I made $1 million by the time I was 30 in Austin. And a funny thing happened. I was accepted in the hood because I was from the hood. I grew up in College Park. I was accepted in Westlake because they knew I was smart. But the thing that bothered me about that was my kids began to think they were special. And what I mean by special is we were the only ones who could do that because all the people we grew up with, all the people we went to church with, it was broke. Okay? And so one day I was up in Dallas. Anybody from Dallas? Okay? And I was just riding around, not knowing where I was, and I got off of the freeway on Beltline in DeSoto. And I rode it all the way to Grand Prairie. And I passed through 3 beautiful neighborhoods. Frost Farms, another one called Lake Ridge, and I forgot the other one. But I pulled over into one of them, and there was this brother and his family cutting the grass. I'm a real visual person. And as I got closer and looked, I said, man, is that Tim Brown from the Raiders? Cutting his grass in a black community? And if you're familiar with these communities, a lot of the cowboys or people like who own Williams Chicken or the guy who runs the Chick-fil-A on Camp Wisdom, they live in this neighborhood. And so I came back and told my wife, baby, we moved to Dallas. That was in May. In May of 2005, I was on, not the cover, I was a featured story in the Austin Business Journal. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to leave because I got tired of being held up as that black. You know, I got tired of being held up, but I wanted to walk around black people who were doing what I was doing or better, because I was looking to be mentored by black business owners. And the only ones here that were bigger than my business, couldn't divulge the fact that they were black. Shout out to Andy Howard. Shout out to the dude who owns the Lincoln dealership. Those were the only two. And they weren't trying to be in their blackness. I can't fault them for that. I can't. Because 85% of my customers was white. So it was what it was. And so one day I went into the Chick-fil-A when I was thinking about moving up there, and there's a picture who owns that Chick-fil-A. And who is that dude? It's normally a middle-aged, white, Christian, high-value dude. Well, in Dallas, South Dallas, that's Stacey McGee. And he comes from the back, he'll give you your fries, and he'll solve any from his soup. And I was like, man, this is what I want for my kids. So when we moved up there, we started meeting black business owners, we started meeting black politicians, and it was okay to be black in Dallas. And so that's why I moved. And so first of all, we got to be okay with our blackness. And not from a deficit, because, okay, like I said, I took that all over the place. You're going to hear something, so better be right. I've never called myself a minority, because 9/10 of the world look like me.
Right, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? And so if I'm going to get minority set aside, I'm already coming from a position of no power. If I'm self-identified, just like I tell single women, don't call yourself a single mother.
Right.
You define your whole life on a failed relationship, you're going to start gravitating towards failure. Right. So you're a single woman who haven't been married. You don't hear father talk about I'm a single father. Right. And so when you have to define yourself from a weakness, guess what you are? You can't avoid it. You're weak. Right. And so now you're trying to come back from a weakness, and you may make it. There's going to be people who make it, and they're going to hold their brother up and say, look, he overcome being black. So what? So what? Does that make sense to anybody?
Go ahead.
Okay, like I say, I don't have any form. So the reason I stopped practicing capitalism, because I realized that we were the capital. Okay? The way to get rich in this country was to have a slave. Not what we've been taught, but there's a law on the books. I forgot the name of it. I'm sorry, I didn't take good notes. But when you came over here, for every slave you had, you got 640 acres. Okay? So if you had 10 slaves, you do that. You got this big piece of land, and now what is wealth in this country is land. Okay, so you were the capital. The Queen of England was against slavery until she found out how much money was made. Then the world went out of its way, because slavery always existed, went out of its way to put it into the Constitution and all the documents. So slavery has always been around, but you can work your way out of it. In fact, and you might want to look this up, I might have wrote the name down, hold me to it, I'll come back to it. There was a brother who came over from Africa and found out, because we weren't just all bent over. He found out if I had slaves, I could win. So he got slaves and he got that land. All right, so follow me. He got that land, he was doing this thing. I studied kind of crazy. He was doing this thing, and then a white slave owner came to a slave and said, hey man, you still a slave? I've been a slave for 20-something years. He said, man, you're supposed to be able to work your way out of that. I think the guy named Anthony Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. You're supposed to be able to work your way out of that. Yeah. Yeah, and so he went to court, and the judge said, no, you're a slave forever. And that was a precedent that the white slave masters used to have slavery go on forever, to treat it as property. And so we're not dumb. We're not a dumb people. But we've been led to believe that we're dumb. We've been led to believe that you don't see me celebrating the first black to do this. I never celebrated because as soon as we get access, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I don't care what it is. If we want to come to the top of it, we're going to come to the top of it. And that's why we got to get into entrepreneurship. I don't know how much time I got, but I'll tell you this. In 2020, the year 2020. Okay, back up. Education, like I talked about. My daughter has a degree in business. I've been in business 20 years. The first thing my daughter said to me after she walked across that stage and we got home, she said, Daddy, I learned more living at home than I did in 4 years of college about business. In fact, I'll challenge any of you to tell me something that you use that you learned in high school that was not an elective. What, Spanish, home economics, anything like that. And if you tell me math, I'm going to tell you learned math in junior high. If you tell me reading, I'm going to tell you learned reading in elementary. Okay? And so we talk about education. Education is what we're doing now. Formal education is the paper that you may think you need to get to the next level. Because you got to be acceptable to someone else. Okay? Now, I lost my train of thought, but I'm going to skip to it. I know I'll come back to it. What I'm doing right now in Dallas is I work with a company, a tax company, tax preparation company. We have 100 employees. 97 of them are black. Okay? We got 2 people who got cocaine problems, about 10 weed heads. We got dudes who got tickets. You know, tickets is a mother school up there. So we got tolls here. You know, we got people living off the grid. But they ain't got to be acceptable to nobody but us. Okay? And so the first thing you got to do in your community, you can go to church until you blue in the face. We got more Jesus than anybody. Okay? You can go to church all day and pray. Someone come in here and kill all of us. First thing people go to pray. You can do all that all day. The first thing you got to do is you got to address the need. And for us, it's economics. And so now we got people who don't have college degrees. Some don't have high school diplomas, but they got skills. And these people are going out and making more money than they can make in any job. They may make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. But they didn't have to be acceptable to nobody. So now, when you turn around and you get a person who, like myself, is a high school graduate, but you know, has some smarts, and now I got an opportunity to where I ain't got to be acceptable, and I can make 6 figures, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Whatever it takes. Which, if it means driving to Austin for nothing, but book in a room, do whatever I want to do because I have the resource. I don't have to wish for anything. I don't have to wish for the money. So first of all, we got to empower ourselves. Okay? And so the guy that I work with, his name is Corey Hughes. He's a social activist. He's a minister, love the Lord, all this. And we had these fierce debates like I would have with Doc Shade. He's a fighter. I know. So you know what I'm talking about. We can get in the room. And I told him, listen, we fly, since we have resources, we flew to Baltimore. We flew first. And like, next day ticket, them ain't cheap. You know what I'm saying? But we didn't, every time we got there, I was like, okay, we marching. But what are we doing? We're not doing anything. I said, so here's your message. Man, you got 100 employees. So what we do, we need to teach and plant businesses, get people paid first. Okay? I don't care if they buy 20s. All I got to do is get some money in your pocket. Then you can come and relax and I can say, look, brother, you know, man, stop going to the strip club. You know what I'm saying? But why don't we kind of redirect this? I'm telling one of the brothers over there now, hey man, let's look at buying a Smoothie King. You know, instead of this house, he want to go pay cash for a house because he made $200,000 this year. And I'm like, that's cool. Man, I done lost a $200,000 house before. It's not a good feeling. You know what I'm saying? But if you buy this Smoothie King, man, these white folks come here buying $7 smoothies, $8 smoothies. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so let's think through. I promise y'all gonna get back to my second daughter went to she went to a business concentration on entrepreneurship. My first one was a concentration on finance. And she called me and told me that she got an A in an entrepreneur class, but she was losing her hustle. Okay? And there's a couple of reasons why she's losing her hustle. When you have first generation money, like I do, or did, because I lost all that. Okay, just in case you don't want to know. When you have first generation money, what happens is you tend to spoil your children with what you didn't have. Okay? And so my son had the Wii, Xbox, PlayStation 4, whatever the newest games, you know, $2,000 drum set, vacation, And so they lose their hustle muscle. They don't know how to go get it. You know what I'm saying? And so she went off to school, my money got funny, and when I couldn't send her $500 a month, she forgot how to braid hair. You know what I'm saying? She forgot how to bake cupcakes and sell cupcakes. Not she forgot, just that she wasn't using that muscle. And so what we have to get back to is using that muscle. Before we integrated, we had to use that muscle because we were doing business with each other. And so, man, I hate I lost that one thought about school. But I'm gonna come back to it. Y'all good? Y'all track with me? Yeah. Okay. So if nothing else, I wanted to make 3 points today. I wrote those 3 points down because I know I go all over the place. Oh, I said this. By 2020, it's going to take 25% of the people to do the work that's getting done now. Okay? 25%. So watch this. When I live in Dallas, when I moved to Dallas, there was a toll operator at every booth. Now there's none. Okay? There used to be one out of supermarket machine. Now they got 10 of them. They threatened McDonald's with $15 an hour. Now they got the kiosk. I go to the airport to order my food. First of all, when I check in on Southwest, I check in on the app. I have no human interaction until I get to TSA. Okay, and so what it is technology is a blessing and a curse. Okay, I was a DJ back in '83. Okay, let me tell you what it took to be a DJ in 1983. Okay, it took a year to put money down on the turntables because they were 600 each. It took a year and a half, maybe 2, to buy enough records to say, yes, I have that. Then you had to buy the speakers and the amp stuff. I put a signature loan on my car to get that. Okay? I told you I started in '83, right? I got ready and I did my first real gig in '88. It took me 5 years to build up the skill and the equipment and the confidence. In between that time, I'm carrying crates for DJ Bear, Jabari Warfield, may still be in Austin. I'm carrying crates, you know what I'm saying? I'm breaking down. Now, if you want to be a DJ today, man, go get your iPhone. There's an app on here, track the DJ, borrow somebody's MP3s, and you in there. Okay? Now that does 2 things. It's great because it democratized the system. You can be a DJ tomorrow. But I have something called what I call analog versus your digital. In my generation, I'm 47, the first all analog generation, first all digital. So I know it better than you. I know photography because I studied it in high school. I don't have the A. I don't know what auto means. Okay? But the outcome is still the same. Okay? So now we don't need you. Okay? So we came up in the industrial revolution. So now it was like able-bodied. I go get a job. You go to school not to learn. You were taught to go to school to increase your earning capabilities. Not to get smart. That's why you don't see black folks create Uber or Facebook, because that ain't what we're going to school for. We don't want to understand quantum physics. We just want to pass the class so we can go get the job. Okay? Because once you get on the job, they got the systems and processes in place. You no longer have to think. Okay? And so hear me now. So 2020, how old will your kids be in 2020? Just calculate that. There are not going to be any jobs for them. Okay, my cousin is a high-level engineer right here in Austin. He owns a flight school called Phoenix. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. That's my first cousin. Second cousin. Yeah, Zay Collier, one of the smartest guys I know. Started Cornell at 15. He manages 20 high-level engineers, of which 3 of them live in the United States. Okay, do you know how much $500 a month is in England? India? That's ball. Side note, put a side note right here. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. Don't repeat this because I ain't really sold it to my wife yet. My retirement plan, since I don't have a 401k in that thing, is to move to Belize. Yeah. So we meet up over there because they got a program. If you're over 45, you can make $2,000 a month to show you deposited $24,000 in the bank account. You can retire with it tax-free. They're a dollar. Dollar is their currency, and it's like 2.5 to 1, and you can ball out for like $1,200. I got friends who live over there right now. Belize. Panama the same way.
Panama the same way. They catch them.
Yeah, yeah. And so this is what's happening. Watch this. Let's not miss this point. This is what's happening. So there's no jobs. Okay? And you're probably noticing this now. Man, I don't want to get into the child support system and all that, but it's about able body. And now you don't need an able body, you need an able mind. And so now we haven't developed our minds, so we're doing able body work. That's our value is what kind of work can I do, because we're trying to get an education to get a job to pay our bill. So let's think about entrepreneurship. That's my brother in the back of the room. That's when I got emotional early, it was about him, because I made $1 million and that's how much he made. He didn't make anything. Yeah, he got the benefit, but if I can't raise my own brother up, who the fuck am I?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's about, in our I won't say renewed relationship, but now we're talking about how can we build legacy. Now the truth is, I gave him an opportunity to do something, and he didn't do anything with it because it was given to him. Okay? And he made, you know what I'm talking about, right? That's my baby brother. He did, but that's my baby brother. And we did it twice. But now it's like, okay, rather than giving your baby brother this and giving the keys to the kingdom, how about you teach him something? You know what I'm saying? How about you show him tough love? How about you don't help him when this happens so they can learn how to jump hurdles? Because I got 3 kids, man. Let me tell you something. The middle class struggle is different than the broke nigga struggle, right? And it's more damaging because like you can struggle, like Oak Cliff, right? We went to Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, right? And we played basketball, and our kids would get creamed by the hood kids. The hood kids got 4 plates and 5 people. This basketball is their answer. You know, we going to Louis afterwards. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so what you got to do is learn how to set hurdles for your kids so they can learn how to jump, not remove them. What we do is we remove them. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so when I told you my son is up at the University of Arts in Philadelphia, I'm not ashamed to tell you it cost me $5 grand. I did a Kickstarter, made it, raised some money, and sent him up there because he's the best in Dallas at his age. I need to send him up there to see so he can get up there and be humble. So he can get like when the white boy told you you couldn't read, he need that experience. Because what happens is, even when he played football, I put him on Deion Sanders' team. He was good in Cedar Hill with the upper middle class people. We went over there with them dogs from Pleasant Grove. You know, maybe I don't want to play football. It was 14 my side, you know, and they pulling. The linemen are calling audibles. I'm telling you, Deion Sanders' team is wonderful organization. I don't mean to get you sidetracked. But if you ever want to see, we took them to Atlanta Falcons training camp, and the kids were like, wait a minute, we do that same thing. Okay? And so now, we talk about entrepreneurship, I'm going to tell you this, I want to talk about development is, my son hangs out with Janet Jackson's drummer, and he hangs out with Usher's drummer, and he's mentored by Justin Timberlake's drummer. Because why? Because I'm not a drummer. Right. Okay? Now, I know we got a lot of church folk in here, and in the church they teach abstinence, right? But the people who teach abstinence got 3 kids and no husband. Right. So how effective is that? So I can try to teach him about drumming based on what I've been. He, my son, it all sounds good to me. You know, the other drummers pick on parts. Hey, man, your off foot is lazy. Why did you play a triplet instead of a single right there? That kind of thing. Okay, so back to the school. And I'm sorry you guys came in. I'm just all over the place, but just, you look familiar. What's your name?
Majestic.
Okay, well, I'm going to figure it out. Okay, so by 2020, we don't need as many jobs, right? Okay? And now everybody's saying the answer, the default answer is, let's go to college. Okay? So, tell me, get to that. So what's happening now is college is costing more than it ever has. Yeah. And so our kids are coming out strapped with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 worth of debt in the hopes of a market being there. Well, if you send your kid to school right now, I think the statistic says like 75% of the jobs that will exist 10 years from now haven't been created. Kind of like the iPhone. 2007, when I left Austin, there was no app. There was no ecosystem for this. So how could you learn about it? Not in school. And so a lot of even IBM CEO is talking about, Xerox CEO is talking about, you want to get certificates, you want to get specialty training for a market that's there. And be careful that it might not be there. Just like my man's lawyer over here, they got this thing called the law bubble because a lot of people going in, and how much does law school cost nowadays? Exactly. And there's a lot of people going to law school who ain't going to have no work in law. I know a lot of lawyers who don't practice law. Okay, now I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship. I wanted to kind of build that to tell you this. After all that doom and gloom, there has never been a better time to be in business than right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the technology that I just cursed about for jobs makes it so available. And there's examples even in this room. But I will tell you, 7 years ago, what took $25,000 to do is now free on Google. Okay? And so Google Voice, I didn't tell you where I made my money. I had a company, a voice over IP company, that I used to charge $99 a month for. Press 1, press 2. That's free on Google Voice now. Okay? There was another service that I would sell to people who live overseas for $400 a year, where they could talk on their computer. Well, you can do that on MagicJack for $30 a year now. Okay? That camera right there is better than the $10,000 camera I bought that looked like that camera in the back. When I went into video production in 2006, it took like $10,000 to $15,000 just to be able to get started. $4,000 Mac, video card, cameras, and all this other stuff. Now, when these DLSR come out, now anyone with $500 could be in that business. And so you can start a business for virtually nothing. Okay? It's just about having tools. And I use this analogy. I took my daughter off to college, and we were coming back about 100 miles outside of Dallas. I had a blow up, 70 miles an hour. Dark in that part of Texas where you have cell phone coverage. And I got out to change my tire, like I'm the man, you know, I got my other 2 kids, my wife in the car, and the trucks kept on passing by and shaking the car. So I drove the car about 1.5 miles to a gas station. I took the jack that came with the car. I jacked the car up. It fell off. I did it again. It took me about 1.5 hours. It was cold to put the tire on. I put the donut on, drive 50 miles an hour, the rest of 100 miles to Dallas. I go to a tire shop in Dallas, and the guy walks out there with that jack, boom, boom, boom. Changed my tire in like 3 minutes. That'd be $8. That got me thinking about the tools that we use. So that's a power tool. This is a power tool. This computer is more powerful than the desktop computer I paid $5 for to run my voice over IP company just 10 years ago. And so we have all these tools, right? But the problem is we don't have training for the tools. Because people, that's your camera? People always say that's a nice camera, don't they? Oh man, that's good. They take good pictures. Okay? Well, you can give me a hammer, and I can't build a house. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so we have these great tools to do all the stuff. Any technology people in here? We all technology people if you got an iPhone or an Android. Let me tell you this. It's called logic, okay? And logic is what gets you into law school. Logic. You got to know how to think, right? Well, what happens is, when we're in the digital world, all the logic is in the device. So you don't have to know how to do nothing. Okay, how many of y'all know, back in the day, we used to do this, that's what? Rolling up your window, right? So you do this to a kid that's less than 18. You know what I'm saying? How many of us with a remote growing up? How many of us with a remote growing up? More than a remote. Yeah, we with the remote. Or like they say, the moat control. Right? How many of us stood for 20 years? How many of us with the antenna? You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is, in business, we have these dope tools. We have these phenomenal tools, but we don't know how to use them. We know how to use them, but we let the system do it. We don't learn how to manipulate it. Okay, when I talk about manipulation, I'm talking about little stuff. And this is what I told that brother right there. I shut my last business down 3 years ago because I was tired and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I was just going to hustle, do some consulting, just figure out what I'm doing. But I'm about to start a new business right now, and I'll tell you what the name of it is. There ain't no website up for it. It's called Saturday Business School. So write that down, SaturdayBusinessSchool.com. Go join the Facebook page. There's only one fan on there right now. But basically, it's every Saturday morning. That's the best time if you got a family, if you got friends, you got that best time to learn something. And we're just going to do lessons on how to start business. Like, how many of you guys are using Google Voice? Okay, go to Google Voice. Get Google Voice. Please. It's free. And so let me tell you something. When I was doing bad, did I tell you I was doing bad about 2 or 3 years ago? I was doing bad. I couldn't keep a cell phone on. And the reason why is because I had 5 cell phones for my kids and stuff. So when the guy Bill got hot, everybody's phones off. So I'm in business. So how do I do business? I went and got a Google Voice, and that's the number I'm going to give you. And I can point that number at any number that I have. So if I'm in my homeboy's house, hey, all my calls coming over there. Okay? And so there are things that you can do to be in business and to go in business. You just got to understand and know those tools, what those tools are. So I shut the business down. I'm bringing it back up. It's Saturday Business School. And it's about teaching, because I heard a man in there said, when I tell you I'm against capitalism, so much that I get emotional is because it put me and you as competitors. Okay? And then I'm also challenged the Christians in the room, and I don't know how they do it over here in the nation, but I think the personal relationship has killed us. It's taught, so we're taught to go get your own. I have a personal relationship with God. My faith is mine, is me, is me. And so in black religion, it's about, I'm going to tell you what he did for me. Right. For me. When other groups, they say, God created all this. Right. Well, God is the homie. God created all this. And we come back to community. And so if I have an answer and I don't give it to you, everybody do take a deep breath. That didn't decrease the energy or the wind in the room. And so we don't understand the true power of money. Money has no value. Right. Money is the least valuable asset in any business. Okay? Money is currency. It has to flow. It has to flow. I have to give it to you. I have to give it to you. Otherwise, it stays stagnant. You know what I'm saying? And so if I invest in you, whatever you do, what that does is empower you to go help someone else. But we don't see it like that. It's like, man, look at that nigga, he rich. He don't need me. You know what I'm saying? And so we become combative because we were combatants when we were slaves. And they turned us against each other. There's laws on the books that say if you save a white man's life, if you save property, if you tell a slave doing bad, you can gain your freedom. So if they gave us that law, what would you do? I mean, really, back then, what would you do? Like, oh, I could pimp on him and gain my freedom? Oh, I'm going to pimp. Okay, so now what I'm telling you is everything I have as it relates to business, I don't have no secrets. I used to tell people I have secrets. I have no secrets. Because you get money don't affect me. I don't lose money because you get money. Right. You know what I'm saying? And for me, money is just a tool, just like a hammer, just like an iPhone. And I fell in love, and let me tell you what happened. I don't know what time, but that clock ain't moved. Yeah, maybe I need to talk for an hour. So when I left Austin, I moved into a house on Mansfield National Golf Course.
That time is okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Maybe my head is switching. I moved into a 6-bedroom house with 5 bathrooms. I got 3 kids. There was rooms I wasn't going in, and I don't play golf. And when I got there, the economy changed, Hurricane Katrina came in. Where I had my money was not good, and I lost a lot of money, right? And when I got there, I said, man, this is what I've been chasing? This is what I've been chasing? You know, these dreams. I had 2 convertibles. I had a convertible BMW and a big boy BMW. Now I drive a 15-year-old car. And at first I was like, man, I'm going to take my good car. But now I could, you know, that car got me here. You know what I'm saying? But when I lost everything, man, the first thing that took a hit was my sight. It took me about 3 or 4 years to recover. And what helped me recover is I was riding down the street with my 10-year-old son, who's 16. And I said, son, what are the top 5 memories of your life? He said, man, the time you and Grandpa drove from Dallas to Tampa to watch the Super Bowl at a chicken shack. The time when all the cousins came over and spent the night in the backyard. The time we had 3 birthday parties, one in Austin, one in Dallas, and one in school. And the time we went camping in, what's that place where they drug that brother behind the truck? Jasper. He didn't talk about those PlayStations. He didn't talk about Jamaica. That was me. He didn't talk about none of that. And that's when I realized that the time we spent together was the most important time of all. You know what I'm saying? And so what we got to do is we got to rip our minds apart first. And we've been trained that you always hear the white man's ISIS culture, but we don't believe that. Our litmus test has always been be acceptable to whites. Right. Always. It's always been that. It's never been different. Or even our parents taught us to acquiesce to white men. And then they told us we had to be twice as good. Okay? So now, you done told us we do anything we put our mind to. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? I don't know what they mean by that, but that's not true. Because I put my mind on dunking, and I can't dunk. You know, and when I did dunk, I was able to dunk a tennis ball. So now I'm a study in fact. I'm working on weakness, so I'm a study in failure. But let me tell you what my strengths are. Okay? And you know, in this country, in this culture, we put the inordinate amount on improving weaknesses rather than focusing on strengths. Okay? Now I'll give you 2 examples. Right? There was a guy who Chinese ping pong player coach, and they don't lose in the Olympics. And the U.S. coach came in and said, hey, what do you do? What's your practice like? He said, well, we don't work on the weakness. Our best player has no backhand. But his forehand is so strong that you'll never get him in that position. And what you guys do over here is if he has a weak backhand, you send him to a backhand coach. You know what I'm saying? And so you're not practicing on what you're good at. Well, let's look at one of the best players who ever played in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal had no jumper. Shaquille O'Neal had no free throw. But he was so dominant that he lasted 18 years and became one of the best by doing what he does. And what if someone said, man, you'd be a killer if you got that dream shape? Or you'd be a killer if you could shoot like you. You know, or if you could shoot free throws, man, you could do this. If he focused on that, he would have lost who Shaq was. And so what I tell people about entrepreneurship is everybody is not going to do it. I'm just, but it don't mean that you're not needed. Okay, and let me tell you what I mean by that. The entrepreneur skills that my oldest daughter has, she told me, hey, I'm never going to be an entrepreneur because I see dad work for 2 weeks, 80 hours a week, and some money might not come in. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about that mustard seed stuff? When you work that much, it does not come in. But she's used her entrepreneur mindset and her skills to learn what's the best way to rise up the corporate ladder. Not playing politics. By saying, well, if I skip this position, I can move up, I can come back down, I can do a lateral move, learn how to do what's best for you. Okay? And I give you an example of that. And I do this just to help my children and to help people. Okay, so this is what I do. I found a shoe store going out of business. These Jordans right here are $150, right? People always talk about, oh, Jordan. What I did is I bought 8 pairs of shoes because they were $39 a piece. Okay? And I sold them for an average of $70 to $80 on eBay and on Craigslist. And I sold enough to where my shoes and my son's shoes, the ones he wanted, were free. Okay? So that was my first point I wanted to make. We got to stop being customers. Okay? EPMD had a song back in the day called You're a Customer. I really didn't know what that meant. You know what I'm saying? But every time we get money, we're looking for what we can get, what we can buy. So we have to be creators and not customers. And by this, cool. And I'll always say this, and I'll say this in any room that I'm in. That's one thing I appreciate about the Nation of Islam. Always have. Is not only do they go into the joint to get the brothers, but everywhere I've been and everywhere I've seen is always about self-sufficiency. It's about teaching your own. It's about, okay, brothers out there in them suits is hot when they sell the bean pies or the final calls or whatever. Okay, and we got to get back to self-sufficiency. Okay, 3 years ago I qualified for housing and food stamps, and I didn't take it not because of pride, it's because I knew that the way my mind worked, I would have figured out a way how to stay on it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so that's like a crack addict going to a crack house. Like, nah, player, I'm be over here because if I could have got $900 on my food stamp, I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna have a cookout. I'll be selling food. You know what I'm saying? But when I have my restaurant, when I have a restaurant, the way I bought my meat and my barbecue is we had 2 sisters on food stamp. They would fight over it. Because they knew I was gonna do the 50 cent on the dollar thing. Hey, you go buy the meat. You know, you go buy all the soda. So my food was less. Now, I don't know how legal it is, but I don't care. Because that was my East Austin hustle. You know what I'm saying? So my mind has always been about the hustle. And my brother's mind has always been about the hustle. But a funny thing happens on the way is sometimes, sometimes when we get trained out of us because we were given things. Okay? But what I'm going to tell you, man, if you give me something, not me, but if you give somebody something and you don't teach them how to get it, you dead. Okay? And so I was doing some consulting with this young lady out of DC, and she had a heart for entrepreneurship. So I told her to send me, we got to the point where she had to send me her finances. And man, her subsidies, she was getting, in DC, she was getting $1,800 for rent, $1,100 for food, like $900 for daycare. And it was like $60,000. And I said, hey, real talk, I can't help you. You win it. I don't know how to unwin you. Right. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know how to tell somebody to walk away from $1,800 in free rent. I don't know how to do it. And if someone else doing it, it's a pride thing, but that when you got 3 little kids and they don't follow around, and you can't pride out at the homeless shelter. You know what I'm saying? And so what we have to do right now, if if you're not in a position to quit your job, don't go quit your job. I've been with pastors who told people to step out on faith and all that. Look, man, you can't take faith to HEB. Yeah. You can't take faith to HEB. So you want to start small, okay? And by starting small, what do you like to do? That's what do you do that the hours just slip away? What is it? And so for one lady I'm working with, it was baking. And so we came up with a plan for her to bake cookies and then hit I don't know about Austin, but it's like 50 black barbershops in Oak Cliff. And she just hit the barbershops. And hustle, go ahead, I got cookies. So they looking for it. They call it cake lady. Cake lady, what cake lady, cake lady? This is dude in LA, got 2.5 felonies from Louisiana. His food ain't that good, but every day he gonna come by and he Louisiana, I got that crawfish, I got this, I got that. He gonna have plates. I don't know what his kitchen look like, I don't remember, but he in every barbershop and every black-owned business in the neighborhood selling $10 plates. You know what I'm saying? And so what we want is this, we want to do, and I have no problem with network marketing, we want to bring 3 people, okay? And the only reason I don't do network marketing because the only way I make money is if I do you. You. I want to do business where we both eat. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of business I want to do. So my first thing is start small. Whatever it is your gift is, and if you need help figure that out, you get with people and ask them, what do you see in me? People who've known you your whole life. People who know you're a liar, you're a thief, you steal, but they're going to find a good thing about you. You know what I'm saying? Like I can tell you what's good about my brother better than he can tell me. I've been knowing him his whole life. That boy is a clean freak and detailed cars like nobody. If you ride my car, you might see bugs. I don't care about a clean car. He does. That's worth $30 to me. He will go wash my car, where if somebody has to wash my car, I think they're being disrespectful. Because it's a chore. You know what I'm saying? And so what we got to do is figure out what our talent is and start a little bit at a time and just start building a little bit of income to replace. Because a lot of times those network marketing companies, they tell you, oh, you make $50,000 a month. You can make $100,000 a month. So a person who's never made $100,000 in a year or 5 years, that's not doable. But what difference, and I ask you today, if you ain't too proud, what difference will $500 a month make in your life right now? Yeah, and that might put your kid in daycare. You know what I'm saying? That might have you get a better car. That might help you, whatever. And so we got to stop looking at that big number. You know, that big number, that big number key. What can you do? Look, I tell you, for me, I need what I call a gas money hustle. I need something where I can make $50 a day. Because I got the home run set up. I got the triples, they're ready. But it's that money I spend on every day that gets it. And I know I have 5 minutes, so if there are any questions, I'm going to give you my name, my contact information. It's Troy Knowles, N-A-L-L-S. And so my email is troy@troyknowles.com. Pretty simple. And so my man right here had a question.
It was called the Saturday Learning School?
Business School, Saturday Business School. And it ain't got one person on that. I just started. And it was something I did before, but I started traveling. And email again, Troy@troyknowles.com. Any more questions? We get down here? I'm trying to see if there's anything else I can tell you.
So your last name?
N-A-L-L-S. It's like balls, or like shopping mall. Balls. Yep. All right, guys, thanks for being here. I hope you heard one thing that helped.